Hey, I'm almost ready. I'm almost ready. Hey. All right. Okay. Cheers, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Wow. Welcome to the stream, excuse me. All right. Thanks for joining. Checking the sound. Ruby. Are we good? Can you hear everything? All right. Good stuff. So, turn this down. Hope everybody is well. I was reading some articles about the metaverse, and I thought it would be a good time to comment on a few things, see if we can get a conversation, see what you guys think about it, and we'll take it from there. So, of course, since we're talking about, this channel is about development, software, jobs, careers. Let's see, we're going to look at it from the point of view rather, in terms of how the metaverse might affect these things. So let me just lead with the conclusion. I think that this is going to take a while to roll out, so I wouldn't be having any kittens right now with regards to that. I'd be taking, we'll see what happens. I know that other companies besides Facebook are starting to implement metaverse type of delivery, if you will. Metaverse is basically a fully interactive 3D virtual reality type of interaction as opposed to text only. We'll see how that goes. I think latency is an issue, bandwidth is an issue. Also, when you're doing virtual reality, when doing the 3D goggles, that stuff can get you nauseous. So again, in terms of programmer and development jobs, I don't think it's like a huge issue at this point in time. Check, mic check, Ruby. I assume you can hear me. If you can't hear me, say I can't hear you. If you can hear me, then good. So yeah, see, we got a question, we got a comment here. Metaverse is all cool, but would it work fine with 4G? Is it internet speed dependent? Well, I think 4G is probably fast enough for a low level, low polygon count, if you will, of the metaverse. But yeah, I think 5G is going to be required to get full implementation. All right, thanks. Thanks for the $10. I appreciate it. What do you recommend for generating passive income? Do you prefer real estate, stocks, or starting your own business? Okay, since you did the super chat, I will oblige you with that. So it depends on what point you are in your career, how much cash you have, right? Real estate is, in some ways, is the least frustrating. Less ups and downs with real estate. So ultimately, the ultimate goal is to have a diverse portfolio. Portfolio means a bit of real estate, some stocks, own some debt. You use your own business to generate income if you can. Being a business person is a different lifestyle. So there you go. So it depends on how much cash you have. If you're young and full piss and vinegar, as I like to say, I would start your own business because that's the maximum way to generate a lot of cash. And then you start investing passively into ETFs. I use Vanguard, but you can use whatever you want. Occasional individual stocks and real estate. So a mixture of both is kind of cool. Metaverse says Luke is one of the biggest scams ever. It's a broad way of delivering content. I don't know. Will the metaverse be the next 3D TV? That's the question. Will the metaverse be the next 3D TV? I think the metaverse will be, at this point in time, with the technology that there are now, I think it will have limited applications. I don't know about you. I don't like being totally immersed in goggles and stuff. I don't like going to see 3D movies, for example. So I don't see myself wanting to put on goggles and enter that world, but that's me. And I'm a 169-year-old Uncle Stef. So Uncle Stef has his perspective. I still remember wagons and horses and stuff. So perhaps I'm just showing my age that way. Perhaps the youngins will find the metaverse more compelling. I don't know. We'll have to see. It sounds like a video game, an interactive live video game, right? I don't know if Facebook would be the best people to do that. If I were Facebook, if I had the money, I would buy maybe one of the top gaming studios to implement the world, if you will, the virtual world. So in terms of development, I think this points to what I have been talking about on this channel for quite a while now, in that the web, as we become more and more interconnected, as the web becomes more and more important, as the internet becomes more important, online presence, online tools, digital communications, all these things are more important. So that just bodes well for development. How it's going to shape up. It also supports another thesis of mine going back years. If you've been watching my videos, I've said that the web technologies, the web stack, will become more and more dominant over time, over native development, for example, in mobile development. Why? Because the web technologies are universal. The web technologies are cross-platform. And that's pretty much the big one there. So yeah, let's see what Alvaro says. The metaverse needs code to coexist. Code to exist, laugh out loud. Yeah. Again, it's, yeah, exactly. Here's a good comment here. Metaverse reminds me of the game Second Life or Sims. It is. It is that. It's just a rebranding of that, plus being able to leverage current technologies. Sometimes these concepts are limited by the technology of the time. So, for example, iPhone. The Apple, back in the day, way back, I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was late 90s. Maybe, no, it was actually the mid to early 90s. Apple came out with something I think it was called the Merlin, which was basically a smart handheld device. And the problem was it was like a brick, and it was a monochrome screen. It was really not too good. The idea was interesting, of course. The idea was good because, look, everybody's got a cell phone now. cell phones now. So the idea was good, but the problem was that the technology wasn't there. The hardware was not fast enough. There wasn't Wi-Fi, and there wasn't the broadband internet. Mostly a hardware limitation. So it just wasn't there. The idea was just too early to implement the idea. Same thing, perhaps, with the metaverse. The metaverse, well, now our phones are really powerful. There's no question about that. I think we have the CPU for that. I would just have to see the implementation. The details are in the implementation. But anyway, when it comes to employment opportunities, coding, it just bodes well more and more and more and more and more for people. So anyway, what this says, Manuel says, but what happened to Second Life years ago, I think will take time in terms of acceptance to be part of daily life as the internet. Perhaps, again, it's like when you step over into virtual reality or 3D, like, I don't know about you, I'd rather see IMAX than a 3D movie, without a doubt. 3D TVs, nobody buys them anymore. 3D movies that you could buy on Blu-ray. Who has those? I think my friend bought one. It was kind of cool. But it just never caught on. So, hey, how are ya? By the way, if you're new to the channel or new to the stream, my name is Uncle Stef. That's what they call me anyway. And yeah. So what else? See if I missed any questions. That's my rough take on the metaverse. So I think it's going to take time to unfold. I think it's just any virtualization of any aspect of our lives will just mean more coder jobs. The concept of being remote, the concept of not going into work and so on, that was actually pushed forward by several years with COVID, of course. So there you go. Hello from Sonoma Napa Wine Country in California. Beautiful part of the world. I was there 2 years ago. Just for my cousin's wedding, in fact. She got married up there. Beautiful part of the world, beautiful. You got to cut the grass, though. The grass is very long there on the highway. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, we have 74 viewers and only 24 thumbs. It's terrible. You got to give me some thumbs just for the algorithms. I appreciate it. So now, if you have any questions or comments about the metaverse, feel free to add them. If you have any general questions, I'll answer them as well. We're only 12 minutes in. Okay, so let's do it. Yeah. I got some energy tonight because I've been drinking my cranberry juice. So, and that is not a actual cranberry juice. That is not a euphemism for alcohol. So there you go. Nice sound. I miss it. Good. Well, I appreciate the thumbs, everybody. Thank you very much. It's just the Google algorithms. It's all AI, robotics. So if it sees a lot of thumbs, it will start telling other people about the stream, which is good for, makes the conversation better. You got more people involved, All right, so Aaron has to say, I will gladly stay in the Stone Age if it means not giving Facebook my business data. Yeah, well, it's all data-driven now. Yeah, I think the only company, what's the one, the big one? Of the big ones, I think it's Apple. At least I get the impression. They're the least data-hungry. But that's why their AI, Siri, is not too good compared to Google, right? Metaverse, well, hold on. Metaverse is all cool, but would it work fine with 4G? Okay, we already got that. Yeah, it's going to be, it could work now, but I think 5G, which will make it really happen. Hey, so how long does JavaScript take to learn? If I join your course and put 6 hours a day practice, I need a job ASAP. I've had people go from zero, knowing absolutely nothing about code, doing my solo learn courses, and land jobs within 3 months. You can check out the reviews. Don't take my word for it. Just check out the reviews. All right. See, one of the things Stefan, do you think Google is leading AI? As far as I know, they're probably the leaders, at least with the Google Assistant. I think it's the best assistant out there. I don't know. I would imagine there are companies in niche AI applications that are doing better. That's the thing about AI. as far as I can see from people I know who are in the AI business, I have a friend of mine who's doing his PhD. I was going to say PHP in AI, but his PhD in AI. He talks about how, anyway, from conversations with these three individuals and who are deep into it in a real way, AI is very specific. It's very specific, very, very narrow in its focus. So you can have Google might be the king at this type of AI here, whereas in other AI, it's not good at all. So it depends on what you're looking at. So I'm sure there are companies out there that have superior AI within a particular niche domain or application. But in terms of the personal assistants, it's clear to me that Google's AI is best. Yes, it does. It does. How do you think of Google? Hello. How are you? Having more money backing the hardware side should open up opportunities for developers outside of the verse. Oh yeah, I'm telling you guys, I'm an autodidact, so I'm a self-learner in many different disciplines. I can tell you that if I thought that coding wasn't good, I wouldn't be talking. I'd be honest with you. I'm a guy who's business first, code second. So I will drop a technology, a language, a business model if I feel that it's not productive anymore. So don't worry. If it ever comes a time where I start seeing that code was like, nyeh, or type of coding was, nyeh, I'll let you know right away. No questions. Why? Because I'm not emotionally invested in a particular technology. I just react to how productive it is, and in terms of technical productivity, implementation, how quickly, how effective you can write code with a particular set of tools, and also the market-wise, how productive it is in terms of the money you make, right? There are technologies out there very productive technically, but there's just no demand for it. There's no market for it. So you have to always balance both when you are considering tech. But Zuckerberg said the metaverse is the new internet. Yes, I'm sure he did. Stef, what do you think about Web 3.0 and the hype around it? I've heard about that. I've only read a little bit about it, so I'm hardly an expert. Maybe I should do a Web 3.0 specific stream. Take a look at it, give you my opinion. I like the concept. The question is whether or not there will be adoption. That's the question. The problem is most people, if they're comfortable with something, they don't switch off too easily. So I don't think 3.0 is going to, if it does get adopted, it's going to be very, very slowly. It's going to be very slow uptake. Unless it's significantly, noticeably better to the average person. I don't know. Matthew says, I think Facebook is heavily focusing on its glasses. So if they manage to integrate those glasses with WhatsApp, could be. They're probably looking at Apple. Apple is like the behemoth in the room because they control their software, their ecosystem, and their hardware. Very powerful, very very hard to beat. Whereas Facebook has noticed that they're dependent on the app stores, right? They're dependent on the app stores. And so that's why they had that big battle over ads and stuff. Yeah. Hey, I just want a holodeck. Exactly. Holodeck's where it's at. That's where the metaverse would make sense. Holodeck is a reference to Star Trek. They would have these rooms that could project holograms. It's like real life. If they could project 3D images in your room from like a projector, and you can interact with it without having to put goggles on, and it's not too expensive, that would be a game changer. Ooh. But I would say that's probably a good 10, 15 years away. Yo. Metaverse will change the world for good. Perhaps. If the Metaverse is released, what would smartphone die? No, you need something to project the Metaverse. The smartphone is, right now it's a device that's shaped like a rectangle, but who knows how it will evolve. We already have the Samsung fold-out smartphones, and we have the fold-outs. Maybe the smartphone will be glasses. Maybe the smartphone will eventually be a watch that you press and a little projection comes out, and you just verbally say, "Hey, do this, do that, do this." I don't know. Get some rum, nectar from the gods. You will own nothing and you will be happy is the most depressing thing about the metaverse. But actually, thank you, Ham, for reminding me of a point I wanted to make about that. See, we look at the metaverse and instinctively we go, it's just like virtual reality. Who cares about that? It's nothing. It's just bits and bytes. Why would we value that? I don't know. Bitcoin, anybody? Bitcoin, anybody? Seems that a lot of people value Bitcoin and Ethereum. How about NFTs? NFTs. Seems that people value NFTs, right? Even brands. Like I can tell you, I've been in business for decades, and I can tell you that even though I've written tons of software and I appreciate code and I understand its importance and so forth, at the end of the day, brands like Apple and Microsoft and Facebook, etc., their value is their brand, right? If the brand is not strong, if the reputation of the business is not positive, then this value of all its technology, which is just a back engine really, becomes less and less valuable and important, right? I've seen it. Like I remember back in the day, in the 90s, we had, IBM came out with an operating system called OS2, I think it was called. And it was superior at the time. It was better than Windows. It was better than Mac OS as far as I remember. But just didn't have enough brand recognition. So, what we value in the real world or the metaverse for that matter, it really, really is very subjective. It's very hard to say. So it's a good question, though. Good comment. GM from just click the thumbs down button because we won't be able to see the thumbs down count anymore soon. Yeah, I'm sure that's good. Question about Kotlin, other. Thank you. Nah, no worries. Uncle Stef, who or what organizations is a reliable source of information on the metaverse? Love your content, Rob. I don't know. Just check around. Never count on one source of information. Never. Always shop around. If you want to have a clear idea of reality, look at one side says, look what their competitors say, and evaluate the both of them. That's how you get a good idea. It's like learning how to code. I tell people, move on to the next language. So you start with, say, JavaScript as an example. Then learn Python. Then learn PHP. Each time you learn a new language, your appreciation of all the other languages that you know or will know will get better. So always look around, look for different sorts of information. That said, I like to think that I'm a decent source. So there you go. Let me just jump down to the super chat. Appreciate the super chats. It's good stuff. Super chat, £5 from the UK, I guess. I am committing to learning Django and React together and seeing where it takes me in understanding the website and building apps. Any thoughts? Do one at a time. They're both capable. React is the front end, of course, for people who don't know. Django is the back end. I suppose you know Python now. Django could be complex. You might want to try a little bit of Flask at first, just to get your head wrapped around MVC. But yeah, that seems like, I think the metaverse will be written in Ruby. That seems like a likely possibility. And I support it. The metaverse is sad. The metaverse is sad and full of sad people. Nah. At least virtual girlfriends don't give a headaches. Boy. Well, I'm sure women would say at least virtual boyfriends won't give us headaches either. When was your first kiss? I'll let you know when it happens. Sanjay says, hey, Steph, I bought the Mac Mini M1 16 gig. Really liking it so far. How long do you think it will last for front end? Years. These M1 chips are beast. They're beast. So I got the M1 Air, which is basically the same computer, 16 gig. I think you made a really good choice there. Fantastic. Q2. Here's Metaverse versus no screen policy in KIF. I don't know KIF. I would have to look at that. Congrats on the Mac Mini. My favorite computer of all time is, of course, the Mac Air. And the Mini is great. Metaverse is the Matrix. Prepare to get plugged in. Well, that's pretty much it. Remember, in the Matrix, one of the main characters, he wanted to be plugged back into the Matrix because he preferred the Matrix. I got a feeling some people prefer the Matrix. We've kind of seen this already, World of Warcraft, right? The MMO. People are living in there quite a bit. So if they can live in there and in the Matrix, or not the Matrix, in the Metaverse, and earn money, occasionally get some exercise going, I think people would do it. A certain amount anyway. Maybe they can come up with a Metaverse based around the Avatar world. I remember when the Avatar movie came out and people were so sad that it didn't exist for real. They wanted to go, it was called Pandora. There we go. So maybe they can come up with Metaverse / Pandora, and yeah, people will live there. C# would be big because of Unity. Unity would be the next web image. That's a good point. If people started interacting on a platform, like a MMO type of situation, what the Metaverse is, yeah, maybe there'd be a lot of C# code going on there. That could very well be. Currently, I'm learning PHP and Laravel. Should I write tests for every project I do? No. Practice a few times. Maybe for critical functions, you could write tests. What I would suggest that you do is when you're writing your prototype app, just get it out quick and dirty. I only decide to implement tests when you have your use case very well defined and you got your core app is set in stone, if you will. Then you wrap some use case around, you wrap some tests around it. But that's me. Some people like to test early on. I don't, because there's a lot of extra code there. But that's just me. Appreciate the thumbs, guys. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs. We have over 100 people and only 59 likes. Pathetic. Yeah, so what's going on? Okay, so that's good. Keep learning the PHP Laravel. It's a good stack. Look, people, your largest wealth building tool in software development is your general concept. You can pivot when you need to and keep going from there. Mystic strategy just helps me every day. Very good. Very good. All right. So, yes, that old operating system was OS2 Warp. Yeah. Ham says, there's a lot of philosophical debate about the metaverse. Will humans prefer the touch of another real human or rather have virtual girlfriend supermodel? Probably a mixture of both, mixture of both. Depends on you. I arrived late, so what do you think of the metaverse? Do you think this is positive? I'll summarize. I don't know if the metaverse is positive or negative. I think it's a new iteration. It's just an iteration of MMOs, right? Massive multi-online environments like World of Warcraft, I guess. We shall see. I don't think the 3D goggle thing is going to have too much legs. Personally, I don't know about you. I can't stand wearing those things more than a limited period of time. So they have to be very lightweight. They have to deal with the whole nausea thing. So we'll see. We'll see. At the end of the day, if there has to be some sort of compelling content on there that will drive people to it. How long before universal coding languages appear? I kind of argue from the point of view of if you're a well-trained developer, the languages you're indifferent to the languages. Because if you look at all the top languages, they all share like 95% of the same qualities, give or take. If you really think about it, if you learn all the concepts of programming in Python, they all extend over to Java, to C# to PHP, to JavaScript pretty easily. So there are some exceptions there, but yeah. Okay. The metaverse is... What's your take on Haskell? I haven't looked at it, so I don't have anything. What are you offering with your mentorship program? Although I think I know the basics of web development, I doubt myself off, so I would like to know your opinion. All right, good question. So what's the difference between my solo learn courses, which are extremely affordable, versus my mentorship program, which compared to my competitors, the boot camps at 10, 5, and 20,000 is very inexpensive. The big difference is the mentoring. The mentorship program gives you access to all of my content now and for the future. You get in, you're in for life. It doesn't sound good, but you have access for as long as you need. But the big value is that bi-weekly we have live meetings where you get to come on video with the group and ask questions. We record all these sessions packed full of information. In the mentoring program, we have people with total beginners and people with 20 years of experience. I have a lot of people in the mentoring program who just sign up to be able to send me emails and ask questions every so often about their careers or their projects. So the mentoring program gives you that structure. It teaches you much more than code. The coding is just the beginning of it. Any experienced developer will tell you coding is just the beginning of being a very highly productive, successful developer. You need good organizational skills, good interpersonal skills, the soft skills, right? Good project management skills. So this is all incorporated into that. I've actually even added training on how to take the money you make as a developer when you start making the excess money, how to place it and position it so passively generates a lot of wealth for you on the side so you don't have to worry about ever going broke in your life. Yada, yada. It's very comprehensive and it's evolving. It's an organic project. I keep adding to it. There's dozens of hours, 30, 40 hours now, I think, of custom content that you don't find elsewhere, so on and so forth. Eli says, now are like the blockchains are now like the companies from the .NET bubble. So after filtering cache, only the best stable blockchains remain. Yeah, that's it. That's normal. How's it going, Uncle Stef? I'm going good, Paul. How are you? Speaking of the mentoring. Yeah, that's what happened, with the cars, like automobiles back 100-something years ago. There are a whole bunch of car companies. I think there's like over 100 or so, maybe more. And they all come down. So what do we have, 10 now? 15 maybe? Like there's so many in the past, and they all filtered down. Same with the .com stocks. Most of them went bust. That's just normal. So I imagine Metaverse implementations are going to be similar. I arrived late, so what do you think? Do you think it's positive? I don't think it's positive or negative. I think for developers, it's positive. In terms of psychological impacts on people, it's hard to say. I would lean toward, like we know that social media can be, so it depends. Hey, Stef, currently I am second-year computer science student at the University of Lethbridge, which is located in southern Alberta, Canada. Very cool. Fellow Canuck. I want to be a cybersecurity specialist, white hacker. But the problem is there isn't much courses are offered in our university. Can you please tell me an alternative way to achieve my dream goal, being a cybersecurity specialist? Well, start learning and reading about cybersecurity on the web, buy books, do some online courses, videos, devote a schedule. Say I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day learning a little bit about cybersecurity. I take it since you're in your university, you're still quite young, so you have time, and start studying it. Start studying also the job opportunities now. See, that's the thing. We live in a golden time of information. Like for an example, you can come online, drop in, and hear somebody who's been in the game for 30 years. Get their perspective. When I was learning this in the 90s, there was no such thing, So it's a golden opportunity, tons of information for you out there. Just start doing a little bit every day, and slowly but surely you're going to learn a lot. Actually, you start learning slowly like this, and all of a sudden, you start learning a ton of information. I can see the Metaverse creating a massive amount of introverts and demolishing social skills. Yeah, that's, I think, Mr. Hologram Nutchuck. Double guns for that comment, for sure. I think you're right about that. These M1s are really beasts. Just got a MacBook Pros, outstanding. Yeah, fantastic. Watching an M1 Air laugh out loud legendary laptop. Watching on M1 Air. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the first Air laptop that came out from Apple years and years ago, the super thin one, that's a game changer. It was the first SSD or publicly big, widely distributed SSD-based machine. Fantastic. So my current laptop is an Air, M1 Air. I just like it super thin. When's your first live stream in the Metaverse? Will your bokeh skills be good? My bokeh skills will be 4D, because now my bokeh skills are 3D. Although I'm using a less bokeh enhanced lens here, so my bokeh game is not as good as it could be this time. Super chat. This happens with RuneScape, RS Classic, RS2, RS, RS, okay. All right. Even YouTube and the internet is already kind of like the metaverse in a way. Yeah, I think it's just the way, the metaverse is more or less a way of interacting in a different space, perhaps. That's what they're saying, What language is the metaverse currently made of? Depends on the implementation. Many different languages will be able to do it. Look, it's shiny, metaverse. Give it some time, then look at the stats. Yeah, pretty much. I do not know about Prismoarm. Never used it. I appreciate that. I don't know if it's Jesus or Jesus. Appreciate it. Thank you. A question about Kotlin. Besides Android, what do you use it for? Well, I don't use Kotlin personally, but I know you can interface with Java. Yeah, take a look. I think Kotlin, I hear it's a very good language. I remember looking at it in the past and it was, it's pretty good. But it's niche. Doesn't mean don't use it. Probably a lot of opportunity there for you. But I imagine they might be using Kotlin in certain companies where they might be interfacing with Java because it's just faster and nimbler. I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess. That would be my guess. I appreciate it. I guess my $2 donation is meaningless. Yeah. Super chat. This happens with RuneScape, RS Classic, RS2, RS3, ORS. I haven't used RuneScape, so I'm sorry I can't comment more than that. What are your opinion about DevOps? I think DevOps got a little bit too complex, and now the companies, the VPS providers are now working on solutions, and I think it's just going to become easier and easier and easier. That's the tendency with technology. At some point, a new way of thinking comes out, new way of app development, new way of DevOps, whatever. And then they get overly engineered, and then people come to their senses and things calm down. What are we doing here? All right. Time flies, man. Did you watch any of the .NET Developers Online Conference last week? I didn't. I think I should go take a look. I hear that .NET's going to be super fast, the new iteration. Stef, Facebook has been pushing his Ray-Ban glasses, being this product more widely adopted. Maybe it can have the high reach necessary to push it globally, I would dare say. Potentially. The problem Facebook has now, it's kind of like, it's got a lot of bad press. I don't know if it's going to continue to have bad press or not. I don't know. I haven't looked at Facebook's usage stats. Is it still growing? Who knows? The problem with social networks is they have a tendency to die out at some point. And Zuckerberg is very aware of that. That's why he's been buying up, Instagram and WhatsApp and so on. Maybe the metaverse will be treatment for mental illness or future prisons. Movie Demolition Man. You never know. What are your thoughts on Go? Go is a very niche language. I have not used it, so I don't have any technical opinion. But there's niche application, You made it sound like a cult, Stef. What are you really doing? Made it sound like a cult, Stef. Are you talking about the mentoring program? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I guess you're talking about that. It's not a cult. Cults, because I said for life. No, I don't. The mentoring program is designed around modern educational practices. I've been working with schools for over a decade now. Some of the most elite schools in the U.S., by the way. And the modern educational technique, if you will, is something called the self-paced learning method. Blended learning, mixed learning, some people call it, I believe. Self-paced learning. So the program and gives you a structure and gives you checkpoints, etc., and feedback, but it doesn't force you into a rigid schedule. That's the big advantage. So you don't have to finish JavaScript by January 1st or you're going to fall behind. This is kind of artificial. Some people will take 2 months to learn JavaScript. Some people might take them 4 or 5 months. Doesn't matter. The program is flexible that way. So that's why I say you're in for life, meaning you have a lot of flexibility. You don't have to finish it by, the summer 2022. Whatever happens, life happens. Some people have jobs. Some people have medical problems come up. So they take a little break. They come back. That's all. That's what I meant. Hi, Stef. For a total beginner, what code do you suggest to learn, please? I would say learn the web stack. Start with HTML5, then get to CSS3 and JavaScript. Why? Because they're going to teach you to think like a coder. A big part about being a coder is learning to think like a coder/developer. It's a thought process. Now, HTML is not a programming language, but it is a coding language, and it will introduce you gently into that whole world, a whole different way of thinking. So I would start there with the web stacks. Check my links below. The only way to see this going through is Facebook pushing this along with its Ray-Ban glasses along with web technology like React. Other than that, C# devs are way less predominant compared to web. All right, let's go on. Will you ever grow your hair back? They look good. I don't know, Marcin. I might. I just find that the short hair is just so much more comfortable. I can rub my hair like this, my head like this. See, it's not messy. If I did that with the long hair, it would be messy. It's cold now, so I like wearing my hat. Most jobs in West Texas are old-fashioned corporate companies looking for Java developers. Yes, of course. But I'm focusing on web dev like React Node. Any advice about job searching out of your city? Just build up your resume site. Start reaching out for React and Node jobs when you're ready. Start with little projects. You may have to do a couple little free jobs. And just start reaching out. Start mining LinkedIn as much as you can, start making connections. Yeah, one of the things I talked about in earlier videos, you can go back on the YouTubes, I talk about the value of reputation, how it's one of your most important assets as a developer. You got to develop reputation. So if one day they go, hey, we got to do some Node here. You know who we call? We call Ham. That's what you want. Ibrahim says, I'm planning to start recording coding vids. Any tips for a beginner? Take your time. Content is king. Sound quality is more important than video quality. Hey, Stef, what would be your choice between C++, Java, or Python for data science? I'm not a data scientist, but I think your best bet is Python, as far as I understand. It's most widely used. But I think that'll also be impacted by where you want to be in the data science stack, if you will. I would imagine, and I'm not a data scientist, so take that into consideration, given what I'm saying here. I would guess that there are certain aspects of data science where they're going to need to drop down into a C++ for the raw power, the speed. But then for a lot of the other stuff, for the speed of write time, they're going to be using Python. You probably more opportunity with Python. All right. What is more important in learning first, data structures or some framework? Some framework, unless you want to become an AI developer or a search engine developer. Some framework and refactoring. Look below. There are links below, and you'll find books on refactoring. Thoughts on Vue versus React? I think they're both good. I prefer Vue. When we had the choice, I decided to go with Vue. I thought it was simpler, better, but that's me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Hureyal. I don't know if I said that right. My nickname is Ham. My name is Abraham, and my friends call me Ham throughout high school. I thought you were going to have another rhyme after that. That's cool. Is JavaScript good for IoT? I don't know. I think IoT is more or less a C thing, right? I don't know if there's any JavaScript implementations there. But whatever. If you know JavaScript, you can learn C pretty easily. What separates a senior and a junior developer? For a lot of money, a few years experience. Senior developer knows not to code in Ruby. Senior developer, I'm just joking about that. Senior developer knows that the language is not important. They're language agnostic. Junior developers get caught up in stacks and languages. Do we need to learn SAS to be a front-end developer? No. Close enough. All right, thank you. So Vue is future Ruby, got it. React is messy, I know what you mean. Yeah, I looked at it fair enough. To be fair to React, I only looked at it years ago, and I went, let's see, we need to implement a front end. So I was looking at Angular, Vue, and React. And I went to React, and went, ooh. I looked at Angular, ooh. And I looked at Vue, it's not bad. So I went with Vue. Hey, Bailey, how are you, man? Long time no see. Welcome back. Well, I haven't been streaming much, too. It's getting cold in here. Any thoughts on Web3 and the Metaverse projects developing there? I don't know. I don't know what kind of traction Web3 has at this point in time. I suspect it won't get much traction because in principle, I think it's better than the Web 2, as far as I know. Again, this is an uninformed opinion, so take it for what it's worth. Technology has to be far, far superior for it to replace something that's well established. There we go. Working at a Ruby house, writing Python code. Hey, very cool. Is starting out with Python first as a beginner in coding a good move, as I think it's one of the most beginner-friendly languages out there? Yeah, why not? For sure. There's a reason. I teach Python, I teach JavaScript, and I teach PHP, each one for their own reasons. Python is cool. Check it out. I know it's not related to the topic, but I made a rotating textured cube using OpenGL and pure C. Just saying because I feel proud of it. Hey, good job, man. In C, wow. That's good. It must be very buttery smooth, eh? Testing an Angular app. Very cool. I just got interviewed for a junior to senior. From a junior to senior, do internal candidates get priority? Depends on the company. I don't know. How we're doing here. All right. Appreciate all the thumbs up, guys. The thumbs ups to viewership ratio is pretty reasonable, I have to say. 96 to 126. I appreciate it. The more thumbs, the better for the Google algorithms, It eats thumbs. I avoided React because of Facebook. I didn't want to be like it. I didn't want to like it, but I do. I also like Vue. Very cool. I'm a senior developer. I was insisting on payment over $85K, but it was hard to get one, so I said I'd accept a $50K offer. I'm getting more offers, but I want to stay like this for a few months before I switch. Yeah, man, if you're not in a hurry, take your time. Haitian Creole with Luciano. All right. Hey, man. Hey, Stef, love your channel and your teaching style. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know. I'm glad I could help. What's the best web dev stack for someone who is already proficient in Python? Thanks for everything from your only Haitian fan. I would take a look at Flask. Django is a beast, right? More jobs than Django, but just to sort of get your head wrapped around the web stack, I would look at Flask. But you have to know your HTML and your CSS and a smidgen of JavaScript. So take a look at that. Hey, Ori, how are you? Cheers. If you guys don't know, I've borrowed this from Star Trek. In Star Trek, the Vulcans used to say, live long and prosper. I say, code long and profit. That's the official salute. If you're a true nerd, you can do it like instantly. See, no hesitation, right? And if you're a master nerd, you can do double guns with no hesitation. Anyway, yeah. And when I learn React, I have to learn so many things. But when I learn Angular, it's so easy, man. Really? Okay. Very cool. Stef, do you think there's any military use of Metaverse? Yeah, I would imagine augmented training and so forth. Also, why are you 160 when you could be 200, which means API devs would love to see you? A 200 API response means successful request. That's a good point. Good point. Good thing I didn't say I was 404. Malcolm Green, I was... you can't... Starting pay is just that, starting. Right? And it depends where you live too, right? In Baton Rouge, the pay will be one thing. In San Francisco, will be a totally different thing. And when you're starting out, it's lower. But then if you show you're good, it starts to rise very quickly. Just look at the charts. Don't take my word for it. When you look at the charts and the statistics, rather, you see that the average, in the US, the average developer is making like 90, 100 grand or something like that, average. Then the superstars could be making a lot more. Would you recommend taking notes as writing them down in programming? Sure, for sure. Keeping track of things if it works for you. Is it bad for a resume to switch dev jobs after a few months? Yeah, they're going to want to know why you switched. If you do it once in a while, it's fine. If you do it every 6 months, not so good. Live long and prosper, yeah. How fast would it take you to learn a new back-end coding language and why? What would be your process? I've done it many, many times now. It takes me a few days to get my head wrapped around it. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I get productive. Why? Because all the modern languages are very similar to each other these days. They're very similar. And so, once you understand what a method is or a function, you understand recursion, you understand object-oriented programming and refactoring. Once you understand variables and data types and arrays, and arrays a data type, and loops and conditionals, these are all consistent across all of the languages, right? All the major frameworks are very, very similar. Most of them are MVC. Express, I believe, if I recall, is MVC. They're .NET, you have MVC implementation, Laravel, Django, blah, 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 blah. So once you understand what MVC is, it's pretty easy to how does Django do it? How does Laravel do it? Okay, yeah. So yeah, you can learn in a few days. It'll take you, a week or so to get productive in it with the occasional hiccup. I just want to say I got hired by one of the largest mobile game publishers as a senior developer last month. Hey! Congratulations, Mr. Slipknot. Cool. Good stuff. Why do you recommend some frameworks that have data structures in the beginning? Because data structures, like advanced, any beginner's course in development will teach you the basic data structures, different variable types, essentially, arrays, and how to work with them, different hashes, arrays, maps, whatever. But in actual day-to-day work, unless you're doing very specific types of development, your knowledge of frameworks are far more valuable. I'm just telling job-wise. There's some exceptions if you're going to work for an AI business or something. But yeah, 50 or 500 years old like Yoda, or 50 years old like Baby Grogu. There you go. Django's big here in Atlanta. Flask 2. Yeah, Flask is much more approachable. So if it's your first MVC, I would say Flask. What are good web dev salaries, junior intermediates in Canada? I would check Indeed or PayScale, but they give very different results based on the words searched. It depends on your skills, depends on what city, depends on the current demands, depends on the company. Oh man, it varies quite a bit. If you're in a big city, Toronto, it's one thing. Montreal, it's another thing. If you're in Halifax, it's another thing. You have to do your research on that one. My girlfriend, Django is big. Okay, my girlfriend says that I am a nerd because I love Raspberry Pi. I understand the basic science, data structures and design patterns. You're good at most things, even native app development. Yeah, exactly. Just the basics. That's why I don't emphasize it. A lot of people go, you got to learn. It's not that important most of the time. Do you think async programming is something that will be popular in the future with PHP developers? A little bit, you know. I think as sync becomes, as things speed up, become less important, depending. Your freelance course docs could use some love. The course has good stuff to say, but the docs seem kind of rusty on that one. I have to check that out. You have to give me some specifics. Hello, I have worked 2 unpaid internships as a developer, and I finally got a paid job, but it's not a dev position. I took a tech analyst role for the money, but truly I want to be a paid dev. Don't give up, Michael. You got your foot in the door, make some money, keep working on things on the side. You know, sometimes you got to turn around some curves to get to where you want to go in your destination. So don't worry about that. So that's some good bokeh hand right there. Anyway, I'm part-time. Okay. Hey, Stef, I'm currently enrolled in a React Node bootcamp and feel insecure because most freelance jobs opportunities are PHP Java in the backend here in Brazil. Don't worry, you could pivot out of the Node into PHP Java if need be. Anyway, you just confirmed what I've been telling people for years now. PHP is huge. How is the tech scene in Calgary, Alberta? I don't know. I don't live there. I'm sure it's pretty good. Would you recommend Switch Stack? Would you recommend Switch Stack? I have not used Switch Stack. Are you saying, would you recommend I switch a stack? Considering your experience, what's the best advice to give to young people who love dev-related careers, games, etc., AI, but high school math makes them fear programming? Very good question. Math in the nerd world, amongst the in the educational space, if you will, and people who try to teach you or talk about it, they overemphasize the need for math. Unless you're doing certain types of AI programming, certain types of game coding, and these are niche jobs, right? Math is so unimportant in programming. So don't worry about it. Most programming these days, I would say 99% of programming, 99% requires practically no math. Just adding and subtracting, multiply and divide, occasional modulus. My math is terrible, so don't worry about that. Just keep working. Keep working at it. Math is not important in most programming. Which field made more money in general, computer science or computer engineering? It's a distinction without much of a difference these days. People in computer engineering will say, computer engineering is about designing systems, low level. Computer science more about developing apps. I don't know. I just tell you, people who graduate from either, they end up in the same jobs. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Let's end off with something light. 116. All right. By the way, I really appreciate the likes to viewership ratio. 119 people, 116 likes. Fantastic. Some bum gave me a thumbs down. Hi. Hi, Stef. Thoughts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what grappling martial arts did you train in? So my first martial art, in fact, was judo. I did judo for a few years. I competed for a few years as a kid. And then later on, I did freestyle Olympic wrestling. I actually got to train with the Canadian Olympic team. I was not a member. I was too old to be a member, they said. I was 19 and I was doing Olympic wrestling for a year. I got to hit the mat with some of the best people in the world, in fact, in grappling. My submission game is terrible, is not very good. My submission game is no good. It's okay, but it's no good. My takedown defense and my takedown game was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. I couldn't take down any of those guys who were in the top 3, 4, 5 in the world. except if I got lucky once in a while. But it took them a hard, if you learn your basics well, I know it sounds like I'm a broken record here. If you learn your basics well in grappling, you learn to good takedown defense. You can defend against a far superior grappler to you and keep them off you for a long, long time. So yeah, that's what I did in terms of grappling. I did some other pseudo grappling. I did China, which is Chinese grappling, joint manipulation. I did some Aikido, which is more of a meditation, if you will. And I've done some other types of grappling as well, from Kempo, type of stuff from Kedge Kempo. But in terms of pure grappling, I would, judo and then freestyle wrestling. Hello, Stef. I will not be attending the Metaverse safety meeting. There you go. Where to start when learning JavaScript? Start with the beginning. You should just take my JavaScript course. Link below. You can get it for like $20. Trust me, you'll learn so fast your head will spin. As a beginner, front end, do you think full stack apps fully functional for your flow or just a shell? You need to show that you've done work with real people. That's all. Just do some work with real people. I appreciate it. Alexander, I like your advice from other vids. It's 3 a.m. here. Got to hit the bed. Stay off and stuff. Hey, Mr. Allah Slipknot, appreciate you joining the stream. Thanks for coming. Sleep well. I just landed my first dev job in the aero industry. Very cool. After 12 years and starting as a level 1 tech support. Level 1 support tech. Very good. Congratulations, dude. See, that's it. This group, I did a survey a couple months back. And I think like 3.9, like almost 4,000 people responded. And 80% of the people who responded, I'm sure some of you here did, some of you, they said they already knew how to code or they were advanced coders. That seems to be the nature of this topic. No thumbs down after you brought it up. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's true. All right. I appreciate whoever took away that thumbs down. A student was asked about your courses. If they are good, I answered, Stefans teach you not just programming, but also management techniques and protect yourself from hyperbole and keep you on track. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks you, Malcolm. I'm just trying to transfer my decades of knowledge and experience to you guys. You can do whatever you want with it, and that's it. See, look at that bokeh. That's unbelievable. That's the best autofocus. See, now you know the secret of my life because you can read my palm. You can see my wealth line, my love line. Anyway. FBI got hacked because generate email client side. Okay. So they were... you would have to expand upon that, Mr. Bailey. Boot camps teach React because it's the hot buzzword. Yeah, that is true. Easier to get students. I see a good amount of job descriptions for it, but 37% of websites are WordPress, 6% are in total built on a CMS. Yeah, exactly. Let me read that again. I see a good amount of job descriptions for it, for sure, but 37% of websites are WordPress and 60% in total built on a CMS. Yeah, well, you know what that means. PHP. I like your logo, dude. Phi SG. That's a cool logo. It's the Egyptian, I think. Cheers. Big no-no. Yeah. Well, you can't put anything that's has to be secure in the client. You can't do it. Then it's easily hacked. Hi, Uncle Stef. Thumbs up from Greece. Greece. That's one of the places I got to visit. I have some good friends who are Greek, and they kept inviting me to go. I just never went. I should have went. Yeah. Stef Aerospace, thank you for teaching me so much over the years. Hey, AG, I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know that I was able to help. That's why I teach. I love hearing back from people. I hear back from people from years ago, 18 years ago, 20 years ago. Reminds me that I'm 169. Stef, you never disappoint with great advice. I appreciate that one, chosen one. Are you shooting on a Sony a7 III? No, I'm actually shooting on a Canon C70. It's a cinema camera. They're both good cameras. I'd like to thank you for keeping it real all those years. You're just the most realistic mentor I've heard, period, and your direct style helps a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. You know, what you got to do is in life, as you get older, you start realizing how you affect the environment around you is really plays a big role in terms of how you feel about yourself. So try to do good to help people around you, and you're going to feel like $1 billion. They used to say $1 million, but now $1 billion is what you got to say. Bokeh is on point, yeah. And I'm only using a 16 millimeter lens here, f2.8. I got a 1.8. I got a 1.8. I got a 50 ml 1.4. If I put that on, only my nose would be in focus. Yeah. I'm still at it, Uncle Stef. Been learning grid and flexbox, working on my second project. Hey, cool. Good stuff. Keep at it, dude. What design patterns would you suggest, if any? Yeah, the first one you got to learn is MVC. All the modern frameworks, well, most of them anyway, are built off of that. Understand what that is. Model, view, controller, design patterns. Then you got to learn, I used to call it the filter. They call it decorators. You got to learn facade. Microsoft likes using facade a lot. Yeah, those are the top three. But just check out that refactoring book, and also below and in links. And also check out the design patterns book. Very, very important. Hey, Rafael, I might be visiting Mexico. My friend is heading out to Mexico City. So I might head out there. I've never been. I hear it's a great place to visit. They were not sanitizing user input. Email text was generated locally, but a user sent to the server. There you go. Did you end up getting the RP? Yes, I did, because I wanted to take it on the road. Pretty good camera. It's understated in its ability. If you light it well, it's great. You know. How to start learning about backend as a front-end developer, your guide to step into the full stack. Just pick a backend language. Like I teach the backend Mr. Ahmed, with PHP because it's so prevalent and it's really easy to get on board with it. And once you understand full stack with PHP, or you understand full stack with Django, or you understand full stack with JavaScript, you pretty much understand how it goes. The most important thing is understanding request-response cycle, and understanding the stateless nature of the web, and understanding how security is impacted whether you're writing back-end or front-end code. I hope that helps. Do you believe in aliens? Do I believe they visited here? Don't know. Possibly. Do I believe that there are aliens out there? It seems likely, given how big the universe is. It seems likely. Some great hacker made the automation script turn the FBI server into a spam server. Important topics to learn in JavaScript before diving into React. You got to learn the basics of the JavaScript DOM, the document object model, and the basic JavaScript, the basics of the language itself, and then you can jump into it. Are you ever going to retire? Thanks for all your advice. That's a good question. So I actually did retire back when I was 30 years old. I semi-retired. I had enough passive income and savings that I could retire, and I took about 10 years where I did very little. So I decided after about a decade of not doing much, I said, I'm bored. And then I started working on different things. And so what I do now, I'm fortunate enough, is what I like to do. I do this because it's fun. I do make some money with it, but my investments do much better for me. So this is labor of love. You know, it's not work. And you don't need to retire if you enjoy what you're doing. So I always suggest take a little bit more time. And find what you like, because then life's very easy. I'm worried you'll run out of questions to answer. Here's Stefan. Greetings from Chile. Why Cobalt is still used in banks? Because their systems work, and they don't want to replace the systems that work. Hi, Uncle Stef. Is the US dollar replaceable? Yeah, it is. Will it be replaceable? Could happen. over the next 20 years, 10 years? It's hard to say. It depends if the U.S. gets their act together financially. A big part of the reason why, the big part of the U.S. is, big part of the way that the U.S. controls world politics is through the fact that they control the U.S. currency, of course. It's one of their main weapons. Besides the fact they have the biggest military, it's another one of the big weapons. Yeah, it depends on how they manage. They have to get themselves out of this financial conundrum right now. But it's hard to say when that will break down. You need something better, right? Do you think a decentralized social network, if well executed, great UX, cool factor, could ever take on centralized? I see it like buying houses versus renting forever digitally. Well, I like the idea. I like the idea of decentralized everything. Will it happen? Maybe. I think with every generation, people becoming more and more sophisticated vis-a-vis coding. And for example, in the last 10 years, we've had a lot of people been learning how to code in schools for the first time. At the, excuse me, even at the elementary level. So, we'll see. You don't need to learn C unless you want to write C. C is also used for IoT quite a bit and other things. It's used in, yeah. You don't need to learn anything. You know, it's... Yeah, what was the first language I learned? Could have been Perl. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a long time. All right. How are we doing? Oh my God, it's over an hour. All right. I appreciate it, everybody. If you haven't given the thumbs up, please do give a thumbs up. And I'll answer this last question. Do I think the metaverse is bad? I don't know. We'll see what happens when it grows up. And we'll see how people react to it. Or are people just being resistant to something that is inevitable? Well, two things about that. People always resist change. That's very common. They hate change. People don't like change, most people. And is it inevitable? I don't know if it's inevitable. But people do hate change. And I'll leave you with this. Anybody who comes up with a radically different way of thinking will be hated at first. There's no question, because the establishment doesn't want change, right? Because they're on top. They don't want change. That being said, so I look at like bands. I like to cite bands like Led Zeppelin, one of the biggest rock bands of all time. Some people say it's the best ever. Who knows? They're one of the best anyway. They were constantly attacked by the music press back in the day. You know, they hated Led Zeppelin. But look at Led Zeppelin's legacy today. Same thing with Miles Davis. Miles Davis was a beloved superstar of jazz, and then he went into his fusion stuff when he went into his Bitches Brew and other you know, avant-garde type of jazz music, and he just did so well. And he was attacked for that. How could you? You define jazz. So it's very common. Humans are like that. We just don't like change. Embrace change. That's my advice to you. Look around. There's opportunities in there. All right, guys. Thanks for joining the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. I guess that's it. We'll start playing the music again. So if you did enjoy the stream, give it a thumbs up. And don't be afraid to let people know about it. I'm going to go drink some more cranberry juice.